Well, if you've ever been in the back of a taxi in New York, like this one being destroyed by Bruce Willis in Die Hard with a Vengeance, you will know all about the crazy drivers, the traffic jams, the general chaos. But Israeli tech firm Mobileye thinks its self-driving technology can cope with all of that and much more. In a rare move, this specially adapted Ford is legally allowed to drive autonomously on New York streets for the first time. Now, it uses 12 cameras and has a human backup driver, just relax, to keep an eye on things. Mobileye, which is now owned by Intel, is also testing in other cities around the world. Jack Weast is an Intel Fellow and Vice President of Autonomous Vehicle Standards at Mobileye. Jack, great to have you on the show. Look, I did panic when my producer told me that you were testing autonomous cars in New York. I thought, why New York? Surely you can find a city that's slightly quieter.
We certainly could, and thank you for giving me the chance to be here. We really believe that if you can drive in New York, you can drive anywhere. And so if we want to prove to the public and to governments that this technology is safe and that it does work, we've got to show that it can drive in the most challenging environments. And what better city to do that than New York?
Talk to our viewers, explain to our viewers right around the world, Jack, what kind of technology you use for this. I know you have cameras and radars, but just in more detail.
Yeah, the car is equipped with 360-degree sensing, so it has cameras all around seeing every direction. We believe that cars should be able to drive with vision only, and then we have a separate car that can drive with radar and LiDAR. And then we combine those two together commercially for redundancy. So this is one of the key pillars of our approach that we think is better for safety, to have redundant sensing systems for commercial deployments.
And you have a human driver behind the wheel for this testing, correct?
That's correct. For now, human driver definitely behind the wheel. These are highly trained drivers that are ready to take over the vehicle should anything go awry. But we're confident that the data that we will collect and the performance of these vehicles will show that even today, these vehicles are safer than your typical human driver on the streets of New York.
Now, you have been testing your technology in Tokyo, in Paris, Shanghai, and I believe Detroit. What have you learned from these cities, from testing in these cities?
Yeah, one of the reasons why we test in so many different cities is driving is so different in so many places around the world. And so if you have ambitions to scale automated driving globally, you need to test globally. So in Tokyo, for example, there's a lot of elevated highways with roads underneath and then maybe a tunnel underneath that. So that creates unique challenges for mapping. In New York, of course, pedestrians and all sorts of strange vehicles and horse-drawn carriages are pretty commonplace. In Israel, you have a very different driving style yet again. So it's important for a company with ambitions to scale globally to be testing globally and make sure we can operate in any environment around the world.
Let's talk about that. When do you envisage that this sort of technology will be available for consumers, like fully self-driving cars? What's the timeline, the vision here?
We plan to release our first robotaxi service directly to consumers in Tel Aviv in 2022. So we are on track for doing that. We believe, though, that the real prize is consumer automated vehicles, for you and I to be able to own a car in our garage that can autonomously drive us anywhere we would want to be able to drive that car ourselves. And for that, we think 2025 is the time frame, but we need some additional innovations in terms of some new and novel kinds of sensors that allow that car to drive anywhere under any weather condition.
That's pretty soon, though, 2025. In order to get there, what are you lacking? What are you missing?
Well, the main thing is really just cost and scale. The technology, as well as it works today, still a bit too expensive to fit into a consumer vehicle that you and I could afford to purchase. And so we've got to have new and novel kinds of sensors that are cheaper and more capable. Because if you own a car and it's in your garage, you're going to expect it can take you anywhere you want to go. You don't want to have to drive 10 miles to a geofenced area and then suddenly the autonomous features turn on. So it's both a combination of capability and cost to get the self-driving system into a profile that can fit into any consumer vehicle you could buy.
And Jack, you have the backing, I think we said at the beginning of the story, where to introduce you, of Intel, which bought the company in 2017. Do you already have auto companies kind of lining up to purchase your technology?
Yeah, one of the benefits of Mobileye's approach is that while we will be operating a robotaxi service in Tel Aviv, for example, we also are very lucky to have many OEM customers, some of our largest customers around the world delivering driver assistance solutions today. So whatever the path to market might be, whether it's operating our own service, providing our system to an automaker, or providing vehicles to an existing ride-sharing service, we support all paths to market depending upon what the right thing to do is in that geography. And the partnership with Intel has really been fantastic. So for example, that sensing challenge I mentioned earlier, Intel's technologies in silicon photonics, Mobileye is reusing to build a new kind of LiDAR sensor that will be cheaper and have longer range and more capable than other LiDARs that are on the market today. So the combination of Intel and Mobileye together is really fueling Mobileye's scale ambitions.
Well, keep us posted on how it goes in New York. Jack Weast, the Intel Fellow and Vice President of Autonomous Vehicle Standards at Mobileye. Thank you very much, Jack. Great to have you on the show.